Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the U.S., multifamily property management. I am joined today by Issa Mider-Martinez, Vice President of Operations at Mountain States Property Management, a full-service property management firm based in Logan, Utah, focused on managing self-owned commercial and residential assets. Mountain States Property Management is a company that values talent and knows how to develop leaders from within. Issa is an excellent testament to this, having been with the company for almost 10 years, moving up from a leasing specialist to leading all operations and contributing to the company's overall growth and success. Issa's passion for the industry is currently focused on understanding the dynamic landscape of today's market and empowering every member of her team to approach the industry with all its pros and cons with a growth mindset. And today we're going to dig into that mindset, her perspective on the market, and how she's creating unrivaled success with her team and assets. But before we get started, we are sponsored today by the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep your ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file reviews and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would enjoy this episode. Issa, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kerri. Thank you.
And
it's nice to finally meet you.
yes, agreed. And before we dig in, because I think that your story lends so much to the conversation that we're going to have today, would you mind sharing with our listeners how you got your start in this incredible industry?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. Kind of like I've mentioned previously, I think with my entire story, I can create a book with
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah. Well, share your
13
book. I love to hear
absolutely.
it.
13 years ago, I arrived in the United States alone with no family. I did not have any safety net. I came here on an exchange student visa and I only had $300 in my pocket.
Oh my gosh.
Every step in the US, I felt like I was uncertain,
Yeah.
but I held on tightly to the belief that I could build something meaningful here. Like I'm in the land of the opportunity. I'm the United States of America. And I think one of the first and biggest challenges I faced was the language barrier.
Yeah.
Back in the Philippines, I had learned some English, but my verbal skills weren't fully developed, and it made everyday communication difficult.
Yeah.
Um, I found myself in a tough spot in the US because I had limited resources. I had limited options, and I was faced with a little bit of a dilemma. Um, so I made the decision to move in with a couple of J1 students. We call them J1 students, that I just barely met in the US. It's like having a roommate and you don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
Um, we were 10 people or 10 students sharing a two-bathroom apartment
Oh my
with
gosh.
one bathroom.
I
And
cannot
we
even
all
imagine.
have the same shift working in the hotel. And the way we like use the bathroom is you only have like 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, or it has to be lesser than that. But I was only paying $50 a month on rent. The
Yeah.
conditions were far from perfect. We even had, I've encountered like we've had bed bugs in the unit, and the level of overcrowding in that apartment was illegal,
Yeah.
but it was the reality I had to face just to survive in the US.
Yeah.
Um, So ironically, the apartment was where I had my first brush with the world of property management.
Okay.
And I didn't know it then, but I felt like those uncomfortable experiences actually got me to where I'm at today. So the landlord at that apartment complex where I live saw something in me for some reason. So after work, I would visit her in the office just to listen to her stories and really absorb her wisdom. And she
What
actually
motivated you to do
became,
that? What motivated you to go in and talk to her?
well, part of it is because of all the issues that we were having in the
Okay.
unit. So I was like, I really need some help in here. And she didn't actually know that there was like 10 of us living in that
Oh, of
apartment.
course, you couldn't tell her.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago. Um, and I was like, I really wanted to learn the industry, And I said, like, you really inspired me. You have great customer service. You're very welcoming to me. And we just started talking. But she became my mentor, and then that lit a fire in me. And she didn't just teach me about the business, she actually made me believe that, Issa, I think you could be great at this. I think the United States is very lucky to have you. And I was just like, oh, I really like that feeling. And yes, she became my mentor. I earned my degree in hospitality and tourism management with an emphasis in understanding the core business principle and operations of the hotel industry. So
Yeah.
that's why I was working at the Grand America Hotel. That's where I started as a housekeeper.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that in order for me to move up, I had to start from the bottom, you
Yeah.
know? So that's probably like really the core of it. How I started really in the industry 10 years ago, I walked into one of our company's luxury apartment, one of Mountain State's apartment in downtown Salt Lake. And I walked up straight to the property manager and I told her, I want to work here. I don't care what position you're going to give me. This is the company I want to grow. This is the company I want to retire from. And the
How did
property manager just looks at me and said, okay, I like this girl. So I didn't even apply for any job openings with Mountain States. I went there and said, this is the company I want to work for because of two things. Like that was one of the best apartments in Salt Lake City. I
Okay.
was so impressed with like the outside exterior, the inside exterior, and how the staff really treated me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I began my journey, and I just felt valued.
Yeah.
I started as a leasing specialist,
So
and
you got
within
a
three
job from
months,
this, from walking into the apartment community and just saying,
yes.
that's incredible. Did you do
Yeah.
research on the company beforehand? Like, how did you know that this was where you wanted to be?
Because I was looking, me and my husband are looking for an apartment,
Okay.
and I love the location. It was a luxury apartment, and we were just driving by, and I went inside the office, and I was impressed by it. I said,
Okay.
I want to work and live here. And again, it really helped a lot because of the staff where I felt valued.
Yeah.
They really accommodated me. They've had that great customer service. And I thought the manager was probably like, oh, I love this girl. I love the drive. Like,
Yeah.
we want to be the preferred landlord, preferred employer of choice. We want people to go to our company and they want to work for us.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I love that story so much. I just
yeah.
think it's so empowering to think about someone taking their destiny into their own hands, right? Saying, like, I drove by this property and I loved it. I went inside, I met with the team. I loved them. I loved the experience. I loved the energy. And I decided I was going to get a job there, and I did.
Yes. Yep. It's incredible. So I began my journey with them, and they're like, yes, I do have a leasing specialist position. And it's a lease up in one of our properties in downtown Salt Lake. So I still did the interview process, and I had so much drive, Kerri, because I was like, I don't care where I started. I'm gonna go ahead and work my way up. I'm gonna give my everything to this company.
Yeah.
Um, so I started as a leasing specialist, and within 3 months, I successfully leased up a 100-unit property. So just basically leasing at least 33 units a day, every single day. I was moving people in.
Oh my goodness.
Um, yeah, it's incredible. And 6 months later, I was promoted to the property manager position. Um, 2 years after that, I became a multi-site property manager, overseeing a total of 218 units. And I think I thrive in a very challenging environment. And then I just kept my growth didn't stop there. So I was offered the opportunity to lease up another 293
Oh
community
my
while
gosh.
being a regional property manager at the same time. Um, became a director of property management and stepping into my current role as the VP of property management. All because, and it all started from me walking in and saying, I want to work here. I don't care what position, I'll work my way up.
I love it so much. And I think there's so much to be learned from that. I think women, especially, tend to be very afraid of asking for what they want. And I think that's unfortunate, especially when you look at a story like yours. And I'm assured that you've continued to ask for what you want along the way, whether that's, that additional lease up or the regional manager position, or now leading all of operations for Mountain States. I think, a lot of times you have to raise your hand. You can't expect other people to always bring you to the table.
That's true. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. So
Yeah.
it's amazing because my education is really focusing on the hotel industry, but
Yeah.
my heart and experiences in property management, I don't think I could live this industry. Like I am very passionate about my work and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
passionate about the industry in general. So I'm very lucky, and thanks to that mentor that I have, my previous landlord, and
Yeah.
all the knowledge and wisdom that she gave me, I think has been super helpful for me.
Oh, such a great story. Thank you so much for sharing it. And I shared with you, we have a few of my team members who are going through the immigration process right now, who have recently obtained their work visas and are trying to figure out their transition to the United States. And obviously, they are at a much different place in their lives, right? They're careered professionals who have already been working with Fortress a little bit. So they're not students coming in with only $300 in their pocket. So that's definitely in their corner, but it's still an extremely difficult path to navigate. I mean, it's extremely difficult. And so, now I was very ignorant to this path until my team members started this process. And now that I'm learning, I'm becoming very humbled and realizing how privileged I am, but just an incredible amount of respect for people who, like yourself, who go through that journey, because it's a hard one for sure.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
requires a
Thank
lot
you.
of passion and persistence. So, and you mentioned passion for this industry. What are you most passionate about when it comes to the multifamily industry? What are you passionate about?
Great question. I think I'm very passionate about my work. I'm very passionate about operating in excellence. I
Yeah.
I take pride in driving results and creating an environment where team members, they feel motivated, they feel valued. Performance matters a lot to me. I really love setting goals. I'm passionate about constantly learning and growing. I really like my my CEO, our CEO right now. His name is Alex. And I just have that constant, like he taught me a lot of things, and that really means a lot to me. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to improve, and I also love it seeing others succeed. I'm all about providing people with opportunities because I know what it's like to start from zero.
Yeah.
So I would probably say I'm passionate about my work and really operating in excellence and pushing excellence to my team members.
Yeah, and you've mentioned, that your team is absolutely performing at an excellent level. So, your assets mostly focus in the downtown Salt Lake area, and I think
Yes.
you mentioned to me that the downtown market currently has about a 92% occupancy rate, but you guys are sitting at closer to a 96. So, you take operating at excellence really seriously. How are you doing it?
When I took over the role, Kerri, as the VP of operations, I already had this vision in my mind. And that vision is for our leaders to be more proactive and adaptable to market changes. And I
Okay.
think that's one of the reasons that really helped us in our portfolio. Um, Being in the industry, it's constantly evolving. And I truly believe that success comes from staying ahead of trend. So if
Okay.
we anticipate rental demand slowing down or there's an increase in competition, I think our team needs to be trained to look ahead and have the forward thinking mindset and not reacting when it's already too late. So in our current company, we are building a culture of excellence. We are building a culture of accountability and growth. So we look probably 90 to 120 days out and say, your projected occupancy is 85%. We need to act now instead of
Mhm.
reacting to it when it's 85% now. So I think that's really one thing that we're trying to train our leaders, to train our employees, even our leasing specialists, and looking ahead to the market changes. And I'm actually very proud too of our downtown properties. I think we've been consistent above 95%, and we're projected 97%. And the downtown market right now is very challenging.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
congratulations. That's some really incredible success. And I love the fact that when you said that you stepped into that role with this focus. Like you knew this was something that you wanted to focus on, and it's been a big initiative for you. And you mentioned the team looking at like 90 to 120 days out, which I think is unique. I think most groups are really focused on like 30 days, like just constantly. It's the 30-day churn over and over again. And so I think looking forward further out into the future is a really interesting tactic. How else are you trying to train on a growth mindset, on this proactive kind of future thinking approach?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing too is I truly believe that leasing specialists, the on-site team needs to know what their competitors are, who their competitors are in the market. So
Okay.
some of the training that I did was basically every week I've been following up with a team on, just asking them like, hey, have you shopped around the properties? Have you shopped the market? How's your competitor doing? An experienced leasing agent and a really good leasing agent, assistant manager, property managers needs to know their market and their competitors. So that's the thing we've been focusing. We looked at projected occupancy all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
We brainstorm ideas on if we are under on this income or if we are under an occupancy, what should we do? So I think part of it is on with the entire team, we help each other. So we work as a team and everybody's not afraid to help this property or the other property if they're struggling with occupancy.
Yeah.
I think that really helped us a lot.
Yeah, I love that very collaborative approach to ensuring success, no matter what's happening, whether market conditions, the income's down, and how do you figure out how to compensate for that? But I do have some questions about the competitor. So, what's the value of really understanding what your competitor is doing or how they're doing? How are you teaching your teams to utilize that knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important in the market, especially if you are in a lease up or if your occupancy is down. It's very important to really think ahead and say, how can we set ourselves, what sets us apart from the rest of the competitors that we have? Is it
Yeah,
our customer service? Is it our pricing? Is it our location? Is it the concessions,
yeah,
So if the team is having that understanding on what the competitors are doing or what the market is, it makes us easier to make a decision and brainstorm ideas on how are we going to succeed. So I think it's very important because what if all the other competitors are offering 1 month free, right?
yeah,
Like, is that really going to set you apart from your property? So usually what we would usually do if they're offering a 1 month free, we would probably do 1 month free plus a $500 Visa gift card, right? I think what really sets us apart is the way we've trained our team when it comes to customer service. I've had stories from the on-site team and they would come to me and they'd say, Issa, the other properties are offering 1 month, but they decided to rent with us and we're not even offering any concession because they love how I welcome them and they love how they feel valued in the company
yeah,
or in the property. And I think that means a lot. If you look at the Mountain States portfolio or properties, we pride ourselves in getting 5-star Google reviews, and we actually made our one property made it to Reddit because everybody was like, oh my gosh, Seasons at Murray Crossing has this 5-star Google reviews and it's over 391 reviews. Like, this is amazing. And part of that is because our teams are trained to make sure that the resident satisfactions is top notch. We are there for the residents. We are giving them the tour that they need and really having that personal experience with the prospects. I think that really means a lot to
That's
them.
insane, having enough 5-star reviews that you guys actually earned a spot on a comment on Reddit. But and of course, everything that you're saying sounds so good, right? Having these on-site leasing teams that are so courteous and provide the utmost customer service, and they do these phenomenal tours. How are you doing this? How are you training these team members to perform like this, to provide that level of customer service? What's your secret sauce?
I love that. I love that question. Um, I think training needs to come from the leaders in the company, right? Like, I guess with my vision of, with how the industry is constantly evolving and success comes from staying ahead of trends. Um, I think the biggest thing is us leaders, we have to make sure that the properties are fully trained, the management, from leasing specialists to assistant managers to property managers. And one thing that I did was it takes a lot, Kerri, because I felt like I was going above and beyond almost a single day.
Yeah.
I really took the time I did a lot of one-on-one training with my team.
Wow.
Um, I actually created, we've had this project month wherein I would have a sit down with them and really ask them, what do you think are the areas that you really need to focus on or to be trained on? Whether that comes with budgets, whether that's customer service, whether that's conflict resolution. So one-on-one honestly is a part of it, and really investing on the team members,
Yeah.
right? Um, I love to do follow-ups with the team, asking them how are they're doing, creating a training plan agenda.
Mm.
I've always advised the team to create a roadmap of, now it's 2025. List down all the goals that you want to accomplish, whether that's in your professional life or whether that's in your personal life. And how can I help you accomplish this? And I think part of it, when I've mentioned earlier today that I thrive in an environment when it's challenging, I love being pushed to that excellence. I love um, exceeding expectations where I perform above average. And I think part of that is my team knows that I really have a high expectations, but I tell them that, if I'm pushing you to do these things, it's because I want you to be excellent at what you do. I
Yeah.
want you to be above average all the time. And they honestly appreciate it. At the end of the day, they said, Issa, I am very grateful for this advice because now look at our properties. We have a great occupancy. We are ahead in our net operating income. We are ahead of our income. Our teams are happy, and it boosts that morale. You
Yeah.
know, so it takes a lot of coaching, honestly, and a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of talking to the employees, the staff, the team members, and it takes time, but I know that I have to invest in the team members, and that's what Mountain States is all about as well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I love the one-on-one training, but you guys are 2,500 units. That takes a lot of energy from
It
you.
does.
Are
It
you
does.
are you working like round the clock, or how are you balancing all this energy and enthusiasm you're putting into your professional life versus everything else that you have to get done in a day or in a week?
I mean, going back to the question of what you're passionate about,
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about work.
Yeah.
If I go over 40 hours, it's not because I couldn't finish the task or anything like that. It's because I truly love what I do.
Yeah.
Like working
Yeah.
is like my hobby. I enjoy doing it so much. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of really calendar outlook, making
Yeah.
sure we have it in our calendar and um just scheduling it on time. I mean, we have two regional managers. So we have South region and North region. So now it's just coaching those regional property managers to do the same and do one-on-ones with a team as well. So currently my direct reports would be the four regional property managers, actually. So
Yeah.
two regional maintenance and then a regional property manager. But I think I love what I do. I think part of this excellence, and I don't expect people to work a lot of hours. But I go above and beyond all the time. And I think, I feel that that's one of the reasons why I am where I'm at today. So
Yeah.
I love to work.
Yeah, it's such an entrepreneurial mindset. And the saying that work is your hobby, I think it's so rare for people to find something that they love doing so much that it almost doesn't even qualify as work anymore. It's just like such an
Yeah.
enjoyable aspect of your life. And it seems like that's what you found.
Right.
Yeah. So I want to ask, because obviously your experience in and education in hospitality is obviously a part of who you are today and why you think about the world and specifically the multifamily world the way you do today. So I'd love to ask, what parts of hospitality, either from your experience professionally or from the education standpoint, do you bring into multifamily?
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is customer service.
Yeah.
On my previous jobs, especially at the Grand America Hotel, they are very focused on giving an excellent customer service to the customers and to the guests.
Yeah.
We would usually do like secret shops and things like that, and we were graded based on customer service, and that is really their main focus. Um, and not just that, even on the education side of things, we are trained how to give that best customer service and resident satisfaction. So I think that's something that I really bring to the table. Sometimes they ask me like, Issa, how are you so upbeat? And it's just like, you just have all this energy. And part of it, I think it's the training that I've gotten from my previous jobs. So,
Yeah.
and they really put emphasis on that.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's
yeah.
so important. I had a podcast with a woman who, and I absolutely loved my time with her, but we talked a lot about the experience in multifamily being more of like managing rather than actually focused on the customer service. Like we're constant managers on site are typically like tasked with managing financials, managing a Monday report, like managing the asset rather than being involved in the people, rather than providing that service and being available. And I think it's an interesting shift in our world. I've actually heard a lot of companies say that they expect the property managers on site to be like the CEOs of the property, right?
That's true.
And let's be
Yeah.
clear, most CEOs are not known for their renowned customer service. Like that's not right? That's not who they are. They're really damn good at running a business, at managing
Right.
people and managing the KPIs and managing the success of the business, not
Right.
providing customer service. So I'm curious on your take on that. Like, what's the important part, or is it a meld of the two? But what's your take on that?
I think customer service is super important, and not just in property management, but everywhere, kind
Yeah,
of like that story we're in. And it brings value to the company or to the property, kind of like that story that I've had property managers and leasing specialists that are very excited because they're not offering concession and people are renting because of their customer service.
yeah,
It's good to have the energy. I've secret shop a lot of properties as well, and I was like, I love this leasing specialist. I wonder where they get their training from, because you just feel like like you're not a bother to them. They would
mm-hmm.
they would accommodate you and say, I would love to show you around. What are you looking for in a property? And it creates that bond and it creates that trust with the person that you're talking to. So I personally think it's super important, especially in the leasing side of things,
Yeah,
or in property management. And that is our main focus to in the company, to really train our people to give that customer service. Yeah, I think it really has a lot of value.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But in that, does that mean that your on-site teams don't have to worry about the financials or don't have to worry about collections or any other hard tasks to the job, or are they expected to do all those things too?
For my property managers and assistant property managers, they do. They
Yeah.
do. So we still have like those weekly meetings on, how are we contribute? How does your role as a leasing specialist or as a maintenance or as an assistant manager contribute to our net operating income, to the growth of the company? What are you doing, right, to contribute to that?
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, yep. So they still it's still part of their job. But for the leasing team, we really have them focus a lot on leasing units and customer service.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I love that.
yeah.
Um, so you have mentioned that you need this forward thinking and growth mindset. Can I ask you, outside of the multifamily industry, what does a growth mindset mean to you?
That is a great question, Kerri. Um, I think of that as honestly focusing on my professional development.
Okay.
That's how I see it. I'm always very, what else can I do to excel professionally and personally? So when I say growth mindset, outside of the industry or on my professional level, it means what other certifications can I get,
Mm,
can I continue my education, getting my master's degree, and things like that? What are the other things that I can do to continue my learning? What other skills I can tackle, that would help me on my day to day? So I actually, part of this is I created like my 2025 roadmap as well, and the goals that I have for this year. And part of those is learning a new skills like doing taxes on your own without having an accountant do it, or um, I don't know, learning how to creating like a journal and things like that, getting my master's degree, being involved on the National Apartment Association and things like that, training our team members, um, helping the team members grow and succeed and things like that. So I think for me on the professional side, when growth means to me that you're continuing to learn, you're learning new skill sets and I'm big on certifications and education. So
yeah.
that's how I foresee it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such a great way to look at it. And I think a lot of people look at growth mindset really differently. I think for me, it means now this is new to me, I will admit. For the first 35 years of my life, I did not think this way, but for the past 5, I definitely have. Where I realized that I am wrong a lot, and or the things that I think are true are not necessarily absolutes, right? And so I try really hard to invoke what I call my open mindset, my growth mindset, which is that even if I am right in this like slice of time or space, that a minute from now, that may not be right anymore. And it certainly may not be right compared
Mm.
to what someone else is thinking or experiencing or seeing or doing. And so just constantly being open and aware of the fact that whatever it is that I think that I know is not absolute. And that I always have the opportunity to learn and adjust through the lens and experience and knowledge of others. So I think that it's just the concept of a growth mindset is so I just think it's so valuable. However you frame it, it's just so
Right.
valuable to create a definition of that for yourself and to have it be something that you're focused on as a human.
I love it. I love that. And there's
Yeah.
always something that you can learn.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah.
always, I've had few mistakes and failures that I've done too. And I think that's one of the things that really helped me in my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I tell my team all the time that if they're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. right?
That's true. That is
Yeah.
true.
Like, I mean, we should all be pushing the boundaries and trying so hard to be successful that we, of course, make mistakes. Are there any of those mistakes that you look back on and you think, that mistake specifically set me up for the next stage, whether that was like the next stage of success or the next stage of your life or anything like that? Are there any mistakes that you look back on and you have fond memories of?
That's a great question. I feel like I'm such a high performer, and sometimes mistakes is, or failures like affects you a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I've learned that, through the years in leadership, I get so excited about my team's potential and I push people before they're even ready for the next step.
Okay. Been there.
Um, I love seeing them succeed, but that can blind me a little bit. Not everyone does well being thrown into the deep,
Yeah.
and that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're not great employees. It just means that I need to understand who those employees are that needs more support
Yeah.
and who's ready to dive into that challenge. And some people thrive in those environments. Like what I said, for me, I thrive in challenging situations and I have that mentality of all or nothing. And some of these people that I push a lot. Some of them are my friends, and when I talk to them, I don't know if they're just not really open to me because they do not want to disappoint. That Issa has put me in this position. I want to make sure that I uphold her standards and her expectation. But that is a little bit, I don't know. I'd say like I don't know if that's a failure or a misstep, but um that's part of me being a leader and really knowing that. But I get excited about seeing the team succeed and getting them promoted from within and seeing them being a leasing specialist and now they are property managers. Like I enjoy that. But
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that because I think that's so true of a lot of us as leaders. I've absolutely been there before where I've seen something special in someone and in my mind, I knew that they could do whatever it was that I wanted them to do or whatever it was that I thought the company needed them to do. And so I pushed them in that direction. But you're absolutely right. Like, not everyone wants it. Not everyone is ready for it. Some people don't
yeah,
handle, making those big steps really well. And I think it's so important I do think that it's an awesome gift to have to be so motivated by and passionate about your team members that you want that so badly for them. But I think that it's important that we as leaders just have that self-awareness that we know that we have the tendency to do that. And I think also in my career, I've learned that it's really important to have like a backup plan so that you can unwind it if you need to.
yeah,
Like maybe you don't refill their other position for a while or you have a different position or just like having a backup plan so that if it goes south, it doesn't have to go too far south. But I couldn't
exactly.
agree with you more. Absolutely have been there numerous times.
Yeah. Yep. Have you remind me, Kerri, have you been in property management before or no?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
I started my career in real estate 13 years ago.
Wow.
And yes, I joined a real estate firm based in Nashville. And when I joined, they were actually in the process of purchasing their first 600 unit community based in Louisville, Kentucky. And we started managing that asset. And then fast forward 2 years later, we have 2,500 units. Fast forward 2 years after that, we bought a 2,500 unit company. And so we are now 5,000 units under management. And I went from managing the back of the house to running the operations as well and helped scale that company. Really just found a phenomenal team to scale that company and worked with some industry experts to grow from about 5,000 units to about 30,000 units over the next 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so in that company, Elmington Property Management is still alive and well in Nashville. They manage about 35,000 units today. And I am a part owner in that company, and I work with the president of that company to help, ensure that it's successful. And they also use Fortress, and so I work with them on how
Wow.
Fortress helps run their assets and helps create success for them. So yeah.
That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
So you have
thanks.
a very good understanding of the industry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been in it like you. From the bottom of those first 600 units, I spent a lot of time on site. In fact, I came into it as an accountant, and that first property that we picked up, the accounting was actually done on green ledger paper manually
Oh,
in pencil on green ledger paper.
wow.
And so getting that into a financial system so that we could actually have real financials was a big lift. So yeah, I started very similarly. Just got in at the ground floor, mostly on the accounting side of the house, and then just have had an incredible journey there. I have so much respect for the multifamily industry. Love it. We focus a little bit more on affordable multifamily. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so more like the LIHTC, HUD, home, RD assets. That's something
Wow.
that, yeah, we're really passionate about giving back and serving the underserved in our community. So yeah.
They're saying that like if you've worked in affordable light tech, and then you went to conventional, it's easy because
Yeah.
it's a different game over there. So
Yes. Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is
Wow.
difficult. We're trying to find a way to make it easier for everyone,
Yeah.
for the applicants, for the leasing teams, for the management teams, trying to
Right.
make it easier, more successful for everyone. Well, Issa, I have enjoyed my conversation with you so much, and I have to thank you actually pretty avidly for joining me on this podcast because you didn't even know who I was or what I did. So I really appreciate you taking the chance on me and appreciate you sharing your story and your experience, which is an incredible one. And so before we go, I'm going to ask you just two more questions. One, I'm going to ask you for another story, a story from your time in multifamily. We've had a lot of guests and a lot of different stories. We've had funny, heart melting. We've had scandalous across the board. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm sure you have a few up your sleeve, but I'd love for you to share a story about your time in multifamily.
Absolutely. It's like you have a lot, right? You have funny stories, you have
Yeah.
sad stories. It's you have all the experiences.
Yeah.
Let's see. I used to work in as a leasing specialist in one of our downtown properties, and we assigned our maintenance team to conduct a move out inspection for a recently vacated unit.
Okay.
Following protocol, the team inspected that unit. They took pictures, they documented, they checked the condition of the apartment, and they found out that there's furniture inside those units. Not a lot of clothes, but there's food in the fridge. They proceeded to remove the remaining furniture in that apartment. These items were stored. We posted a notice of abandoned property. A month later, we received a call from the resident who had been abroad for 2 months. Hi, where are all my stuff?
Oh, no.
We discovered that the maintenance team had mistakenly entered his unit, remove all the stuff. They're unaware of the error, removed all his belongings, sold it, donated it, discarded it after the holding period. That property needed to pay this tenant $30,000.
Oh my goodness.
I found out about it, Kerri, and my face was, what's going on? And I was a leasing specialist back then.
Oh no. They just went into the wrong unit? Just the wrong
They went
unit.
into the wrong, yep.
Oh
So they
my
had to do a move out
goodness.
inspection, but it was the wrong unit, removed all this person's belonging. That person wasn't there. He was out of the country for more than a month, came
Oh
back
my
and was like, where's all my stuff?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I mean, it's funny now, but it was not funny when it was a
It's
$30,000
crazy.
price tag.
It's
That's for
like
sure. Oh my goodness. Oh,
the things you deal with. Yes, it was. I mean, they followed the proper protocol of keeping it for 15 days and selling it, but it was too late because the resident wasn't
yeah.
there. But it was a lesson learned, and everybody in that office was like, "What have we done?"
Oh my goodness. It's so funny because at Fortress, we have the technology that essentially you use to run your asset, right? So we like replace Yardi and RealPage and all that. And so like we're trying to figure out how we can connect the physical world with the digital world in a way that automates all of those things. And so in my mind, it is like a user shouldn't be going into the system and actually marking a unit as notice to vacate or moved out. Like a user shouldn't be doing that. This technology should be able to automate a move out the way that we can like automate hotel checkouts these days, right?
Right.
And so if a user isn't the one who's going in and marking the unit as vacant or whatever that is, or moving a tenant out, then you could eliminate that sort of issue. But honestly, it's hard. It's really hard to bring the physical and the digital worlds together. It's difficult, and so it's something that the real estate industry is going to continue to struggle with until we find a more robust technical solution to handle these things. But it's an exciting challenge to chase after. And I love that story because it vindicates the things that we're working on that we're
Right?
so focused on. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And then my last question, because over the past few podcast episodes, I've just had some phenomenal guests who talk about a lot of the things that they read. And I think that it's just such an awesome opportunity to ask my guests to share book recommendations with our listeners because as obviously successful career professionals such as yourself, I'm assured that continued education through reading and courses is wildly important. So do you have a book that you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Yes, I do. It's actually, this book is called The Influencer by Joseph Grenny.
Okay.
My husband, he's currently taking his doctorate degree at the University of Utah, and he was the one that recommended it to me. And I'm glad he did. He was like, Issa, this is more on towards the business side of things. Like, you really need to read this book. So I was reading this book, and it tells you about how to influence people in a positive and meaningful way and become a more effective leader.
Okay.
Um, I think part of it is I had an experience in the past, and we were halfway through the month and we just barely hit 50% of our leasing goal. And traffic was coming in, the leads were solid, but leases were not signed. And I could see it happening. Few of our team members were comfortable, they were touring, they were smiling, they were doing the basics, but nothing is changing. We're not closing the deal.
Okay.
So I pulled the team into a room and I said, I'm going to paint this picture for you. Every day we leave a unit empty, we're losing a revenue. That rent, we will never get that back. We don't get to reverse that month and try again. If we don't fill this unit, the property suffer, payroll suffers, and all that. Then I got personal and I told them about a property I once turned from 6 to 8% to 96%. Not because we had more traffic, but because the team shifted their mindset. And I reminded them that this is a business, and if we're not leasing, then we're losing, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what the story is, that's what the influencer is all about. It's like lighting that fire from within, not yelling from above, making sure that we're creating that urgency and really painting that picture into the team member and influencing them why this one matters, why this decision matters, and giving those people the tools that they need to deliver. So I really like it. I feel like I've helped a lot. It really helps me a lot in my current role and really helping the team. And part of that too is being able to adapt to the changes in the industry and honestly in the overall, even if in our personal life. So I honestly recommend it. I love it so much. It's called The Influencer by Joseph Grenny.
Oh, thank you so much. That's an incredible
Yeah.
recommendation. I love your description of the book, and I will absolutely add it to my book list. Well, Issa, thank you so much again for taking the time to be with me today. It's just a wonderful conversation. Congratulations on all your incredible success. And if you ever do get around to writing that book about your wild and amazing experiences, please let me know. I'd be the first to read read it.
Oh, thank
And
you, Kerri.
yes, and I just wish you all the continued success because you're obviously doing some really great things over there in Mountain States. So congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Kerri. I appreciate you and your team and your time. So thank you so much.